Pyrotechnics puts you in the hospital right away.
We have to look sometimes like it's going to kill everybody on stage.
In a rock show, you know, you worry about a kid getting up on stage.
We have to be willing to put ourselves close to it as well. Back, back, back.
It's a fairly regular thing to actually fire a device toward the audience.
We want to put 15,000 people in here in a rock and roll band, and then we want to blow it up.
God forbid if there ever be an accident in a plant like ours.
People that are in this business that do it for a living want to make sure that they keep living.
Everybody that does pyrotechnics knows somebody who died doing pyrotechnics.
Fireworks have fascinated us since Chinese alchemists of the Wu dynasty first invented gunpowder almost 1,100 years ago. More recently, a unique subculture has emerged within the world of fireworks. It's called the art of close proximity pyrotechnics. Fireworks used up close to performers and audiences without endangering them. Unlike television and film, where camera angles and editing can help create the illusion of close proximity explosions, pyrotechnicians work their magic under the glare of a live audience.
How dangerous is it? It's fire. It's dangerous as hell. Pyrotechnics puts you in the hospital right away.
Close proximity pyrotechnicians must often walk a razor-thin line that separates safety from danger.
We have to look sometimes like it's going to kill everybody on stage. Maybe that's the effect. But at the same time, it has to be benign enough to the talent, to the audience, etc. And we may have to do it 15, 20 feet from the audience.
Because the audience, they paid for a show. They wanted to come in and see the show. They didn't want to come in and be exposed to something dangerous. I'm going to design a show that is as safe as possible, but I'm still going to put stuff on the stage that blows up.
Today, blowing stuff up on stage rivals a NASA shuttle launch in complexity, manned by an eclectic group of artists, scientists, and engineers. Auburn Hills, Michigan, 20 minutes outside of Detroit. The famous heavy metal group of the 70s and 80s, Black Sabbath, is on the final leg of a 21-city reunion tour across the United States. Of the 60 crew members, 3 work exclusively on pyrotechnics.
Black Sabbath show is a relatively heavy pyrotechnic indoor show.
Long before the crew could begin setting up the effects for tonight's performance,
stage right's all done.
a pyrotechnic plan was needed.
I wanted to drop the focus on stage.
The band approached one of the premier practitioners of close proximity pyrotechnics in the world.
Really, I think the smartest outfit I have would have to be the smoking jacket and the hat.
Peter Cappadocia has spent over 20 years on the road with the biggest bands in the music industry.
He's been doing this probably longer than anybody, as far as pyro and rock and roll. I hate to call him the grandfather because he's not that old.
Known simply as Pyro Pete, he now works his magic out of Las Vegas.
Pete, I think, keeps people at a distance with his shaved head.
You talk to somebody with a tattoo on the side of his head, this side up, and kind of makes you wonder every once in a while.
Once you do get through that, there's not a better guy out there or a finer, more knowledgeable and astute pyrotechnician going.
His propensity for pyrotechnics revealed itself at an early age.
You know, I would take the model rockets and put fireworks in the model rockets, yank out the parachute, you know, it's like, this one's never coming back, and just fill it with fireworks and send it up, you know. And then you learn very important things like timing, because, you know, we would have too long a fuse and the rocket would go up and land right next to you and then blow up, and you're like, oh, what did I do wrong?
In the 70s, Cappadocia was part of an underground pyrotechnic movement that was poised to enter mainstream entertainment.
And I worked with the Plasmatics in 1979, which was like the premier band for blowing bizarre things up. You know, we're blowing up cars and television sets and guitars and dummies and all sorts of things.
As the music industry's hunger for spectacle has grown, the biggest names in rock and roll now dine frequently on Cappadocia's pyrotechnic recipes.
He's been doing it longer than anybody else, and he's been doing it better than anybody else. I mean, he's just the best there is.
Now they've debunked the whole, you know, legend of Pyro Pete. It's just a goofy guy.
Black Sabbath approached Pyro Pete early in the design stage of their reunion tour.
If somebody comes up to me and they've got an idea, they've got a stage set, they've got a plot, they've got their set design, they've got the look that they want, then they bring me into it, and I work from there to try and enhance their design. I'd ask them, like, what's the feel that they're looking for?
Especially on heavy metal tours, hard rock tours, pyro and lighting go very closely hand in hand because timing is the key to the show.
You say, well, I want to open up with something that looks a little dark. I want to open up with something that's really scary, or I want to open up with something that's, that's really bright.
You want the pyro to fall on those same big changes, like at the end of a song when there's a big crescendo and a crash, boom, the pyro goes at the same time.
Cappadocia finds inspiration for his pyrotechnic designs in some of the more exotic locales of Las Vegas.
Put a lot of time in the topless bar on napkins. That's actually where I design most of the stuff. Like I'll commit these to memory, and then you go to a topless bar and you tip the DJ to play like music that is conducive to designing little flames on napkins, and then you sit there with napkins and you just go like, wow, this would be cool if this would happen, this would be cool if that would happen. And then you come home with the napkins, then you spread the napkins out around here, and then you translate the napkins down to what you actually end up with, which is more little squiggly pieces of paper. We started with a stage set that was really, really nice. You got to go into a show expecting it's going to change several times. Okay, hang on, you're going to get another set of faxes. We changed some things. Take the burns out of the eyes, because we're not even going to have the eyes. But we're going to have this chandelier. If you go back to the beginning, there was no chandelier. We're not going to have the skulls, but we are going to keep the little curly cues. This one made it to the show. This here, not so lucky. That one made it into the show. This is real-time mess. You finally end up with a pyro plot that you can't find on your computer, but you know it exists. When I need help, I just get the crystal ball out to turn the computer off and just gaze into the crystal ball and say, what does he want from me? It never answers me, but I feel good about it. So I'll put the crystal ball back up over there. Have it.
After Cappadocia created a pyrotechnic plan for the Black Sabbath reunion tour, the band needed someone to execute his design. An hour outside of St. Louis, Missouri, hidden in the Hillsborough countryside, is a unique collection of companies. One of them, Performance Pyrotechnic Associates, is responsible for the overall organization of the pyro effects on the Black Sabbath reunion tour.
We run the gamut from budgeting to what the show's going to be, getting all of the digital control systems out, getting the crew out there.
But first, months before the concert tour begins, Eric Tucker and his pyrotechnicians scrutinize the design plan for safety considerations.
And as we become involved, we start to look at the set, the design of the set, the materials the set's made of. Are they flammable? Are they drapes? What kind of costuming is involved?
But the concern for safety is constantly challenged by the demand for bigger and better.
Normally, at this level, there's always a few things where somebody says, can you do this? And I want it to go up, and I want it to turn left, and I want it to say low, and then go right, you know, something crazy. So always on some production at this level, we end up having to get some kind of effect that we've never gotten before, and we have to develop it. That's the fun part. That's the fun part of it all.
Developing and testing new ideas is an ongoing process on the 200-acre test site.
This is a small ricochet hit. Pretty cute, you know. Next one up is what? Number 9, where's it pointed?
Right at you.
We're going to back up just a bit so the bullet hits and ricochets get a little bigger. And we want to back up just a bit more. And slightly bigger. Want to back up some. And this actually is a what we call a shoot down for a helicopter sequence that we ended up doing. Let's go back here. And this is a directional short circuiter that sort of sprays stuff everywhere, sort of like an electrical short. And the next one? You missed me. What's next? Oh yeah. The next effect we're testing tonight is a thing called popcorn. We can hang them from harnesses in dome arenas. This is a pretty big effect. Or we can put them on the ground like we have tonight. Good.
All right, this is a mortar hit type 3 used for a body of a bigger effect if we're doing flames or if you're along the front of a stage, etc.
When we're designing it, I simply put my son in the first row, you know, in my mind, and I think about that, and, you know, would I do this?
This product is putting out about 2,300 degrees, and it puts out a pretty good pressure wave over the audience, single units. We usually use a number of them at one time.
Am I on fire?
A fundamental difference between pyrotechnics and fireworks is the margin of air.
In aerial fireworks, if a big shell breaks 200 feet bigger than we normally associate it to be, it's cool probably because it's bigger. Although on stage, because you have so little room for air, so a lot of times, you know, we have a 5-foot window in terms of its effect that we need to hit, be that height or width, etc. And it needs to do that all the time. That is a very difficult thing to do. It takes an enormous amount of testing. Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
This firework effect is designed to burn out at the apex of its flight.
That works.
But the next one fails and almost hits the cameraman.
Back, back, back. There we go. The piece we just tested failed. It went up and it came down to the ground, obviously.
Had this occurred during a show and landed on a performer or member of the audience, the consequences could have been fatal.
That's why we got to run through everything, so we'll pull those from inventory and take the lot number back and figure out what's wrong. And things become extremely critical in terms of accuracy, output, repeatability. You know, it wouldn't do it all for us to be 20% off on the Rolling Stones. It just wouldn't do. The only thing consistent about pyrotechnics is it won't be. And that's to keep us from falling into that trap of complacency.
Located on the same property as Performance Pyrotechnic, an hour outside of St. Louis, is a sister company, Pyro Products.
Pyro Products is a manufacturer of pyrotechnics for the entertainment industry, from low-level ground effects through high aerial pyrotechnics.
Many of the firework companies in the United States are family-run businesses. Ron Walker, president of Pyro Products, is a second-generation pyrotechnic maker.
I grew up in the pyrotechnic business. You know, my father had been doing it since he was 15 or 16 years old on the show execution end of it, going out and doing public displays. On the 4th of July, when everybody else was running around, you know, hoping to God that their parents could buy them some little classy fireworks, I was always out with Dad. Part of my schooling in college when I was getting my business degree, my business plan was setting up and developing a fireworks manufacturing company. And that college project became Pyro Products.
Today, Pyro Products is one of the largest custom aerial firework companies in the world. Its facilities comprise a collection of over 60 small buildings and sheds dispersed over 200 acres.
The purpose of having small buildings is that you minimize the amount of material you have there and you spread them out, because the name of the game is, if you did have an accident in any one given building, is to stop the propagation of that accident to getting into other buildings and starting a chain reaction as it moves through the plant.
Each building is an island unto itself, surrounded by a sea of trees and dirt berms, which act as natural protective barriers between buildings.
God forbid if there ever be an accident in a plant like ours, the name of the game is to minimize, the destruction, that can be created. We can have a maximum amount of 500 pounds of explosive material in and around those buildings.
The dangers associated with making fireworks were tragically reinforced in April of 1999, when an explosion destroyed a fireworks factory in southern Michigan. 5 people were killed. It was the second time in 5 months a blast had claimed lives at the same plant. Investigators said they may never fully understand what caused the blast.
That's where the real danger is, and that's everybody has to be vigilant. Especially in manufacturing of the material, that's probably, without a doubt, the most dangerous part of this business.
Peer behind the scenes of a fireworks plant, and one can see the inherent perils literally floating in the air. For the primary source of danger is dust. Pyrotechnics are made from a combination of fine powders carefully measured and then mixed together by hand.
You're putting together the pyrotechnic composition here, and as you can see, it's fine powders. You get the dust in the air. That's why you see the mixtures here. They're all fully clothed in chemical suits, full respirator.
The presence of pyrotechnic dust turns the entire room into a potential bomb. The only ingredient missing is a spark.
When you throw a flame to it, and the mixture of the air, because your air is your oxidizer, and it's those fine, tiny particles up there, it becomes very dangerous.
The enemy is the most likely source of a spark, static electricity.
Which is the #1 hazard that we fight in manufacturing. Static electricity is the most important in the manufacturing process, as well as somebody throwing an inadvertent spark from dropping something metal. And that's why seeing exposed concrete inside these buildings, they're all coated in one way or another with some sort of rubberized epoxy material to prevent against a spark.
Aggressive measures are taken to attack any potential source of static electricity, including the bodies of the employees.
And he's got a wire that's attached right to his skin up here on his leg that you can't see. It's under his pant legs, that grounds his body to this grounded floor at all times. Everything in this here is set up for a hazardous environment here. Explosion-proof light fixtures, non-sparking conductive floors, grounding wires are hooked up on the mixing sieves and the trough in which they mix in. You have to take all those precautions because now we're dealing with something that is volatile.
After safety, the most important priority in the pyrotechnic industry is secrecy.
There's issues about how do they make that thing go from red to amber to aqua, and how do they make it go out before it slams into the ceiling? And those are some technical questions from a chemistry standpoint and a physics standpoint that in general are pretty well kept. There's a lot of things that we're real quiet about because it took a long time to figure it out. It's generally called recipes. Those are the things that people may wonder about that we're just not going to talk about. That's our edge.
But we can tell you that there are 2 basic ingredients in every pyrotechnic recipe: a fuel and an oxidizer.
It's no different than a wood burning fire that you have in your home. The wood is the fuel, the air is providing the oxygen. It's the two together that help the combination burn.
In their powder form, the fuel, oxidizer, and color chemicals can be combined in an infinite number of mixtures.
Those mixtures either go and they get manufactured into stars, or a pressed large comet, or a cross set, or it could be a serpent, a whistle. Maybe the mixture was for the burst charge.
Once a pyrotechnic mixture is made, it's transported to another building, where it will be pressed into a specific shape.
That bowl outside there is the composition. This is a safety window to prevent against, you know, if anything had an accident, no spark can get to the material. She'll come over here, get the material she needs, walk away, put in what she wants, come over here, put the excess material back outside the building. That's 40 tons of pressure dispersed over 156 rams.
Once pressed in the molds, the various shapes and shells are combined into larger shells.
Fireworks are a lot like, I guess, a construction business. You know, you've got your strip homes, and then you've got your custom homes, and a shell like this would fall into the custom home line. And in order to get a shell made, you have to have a structure to put all your things in, and this is how we do it. We form it with craft paper around this dowel, gluing paper to paper. That's all we're doing. And then you come around and you pleat these sides in on this, and as you can see, it's kind of flimsy. Got to build strength into the product. But that's the case. And what our plan is this shell is to contain 21 of these small shells. You can see the void areas that are in here. We need to fill everything. This shell has to be completely solid when it's finished. And this powder that I'm putting in here is the filler powder.
The filler powder serves two purposes. One, it maintains direct contact between all the pyrotechnic components. And two, prevents them from shifting inside the shell.
The concept of this shell is that it's going to break on the way up in flight, project all of the shells out, and then they're all going to open up at the same time. That hollow space down the middle there is what's going to house our burst charge. The burst charge is what ignites all the components inside of a shell and also explodes the shell out into the pattern that is necessary. And then I need to fill around it. As you can see, now we are completely filled with powder. The time fuse on this thing here is what we call a spoulette. It's handmade. It's a thick-walled tube that I pound black powder into it, and I put the certain, however long I need the flight time to be is how much powder I put in this tube. And one of the most common questions that's asked me is, Ron, what happens if we just drop this shell? I've never ever seen a shell go off from anybody dropping it. This shell weighs about 8.5 pounds at this point. From there, the shell gets what we call spiked. Now it's completely solid. What we're doing, we're trying to build up that pressure so that that fast reaction of that black powder will snap that casing apart. And that's all this wrap does besides give us something to tie the burst charge in, and other than that, it's just to make the shell look pretty. And then we have a specified weighed out amount of powder that is the lift charge. When we ignite that powder, given the fact that it's in a mortar, it only can do one thing with its energy, and that is propel that aerial shell in the air. Now we've got a lifted shell. It's very, very safe to handle at that point. And there it is. That's the finished 8-inch shell ready to fire.
And how will 8 pounds of pyrotechnic chemicals transform themselves in the night sky?
This is the one that's going to spread the 21 small shells into a bouquet design in the sky.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, fire.
All 21 will go off at the same time.
It's coming.
That's why it makes it so easy to come to work, is because it's like a hobby. And more than anything, it's living the dreams of going out entertaining thousands upon thousands of people. And you just get such a rush from the reaction of these people. And it makes it great. And you can go out and you can do this day after day after day, and they don't know who you are personally, and nobody's going to run up to you and ask if you can sign your autograph. You can do what you love to do and then just kind of fade away. In this case, it's an 8-inch shell.
Ron Walker and Eric Tucker's companies are among the best in the world at designing and making large outdoor fireworks.
This is the kind of stuff that we'd use on a large-scale rock and roll, such as the Stones, Super Bowl, etc., in stadiums.
But indoor venues require a totally different type of pyrotechnic effect.
Things have to work so close, you know, we have to look, and we're also working, 15 to 30 feet away from the audience. It's very difficult to make a pyrotechnic device small. We need products that are ultra accurate and consistent.
So for the Black Sabbath reunion tour, Eric Tucker went to a company specializing in high accuracy, close proximity pyrotechnic effects.
We use MPA special effects product exclusively, consider them to be the best there is in the world.
The M in MPA stands for Morris Thane Morris, considered the godfather of close proximity pyrotechnics.
Thane invented fire, in my opinion. You know, the guy's done Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Hunt for Red October, Cliffhanger, Die Hard, Ghostbusters, mechanical effects, props, special effects, computerized effects. So he's, like, in my eyes, the guru of how do you do this? Thane, how do I make this happen?
We're very careful about our clientele. We don't advertise. You'll find out that we don't even have a listed phone number. If you don't know who we are to start with, you probably don't want to. We make something over 2,000 different devices. They're used in all the major theme parks in the United States and worldwide.
Morris's company, MPA, was a major link in the pyrotechnic design chain.
The materials are specially designed for the show venue, for whatever the show is.
It would take months of designing and testing before all the pyrotechnic elements of the show would be ready.
The audience is, well, they're not aware of the hours and hours and hours and the number of people it takes to put a show together like that.
Once the tour began, the execution of the pyrotechnic plan, night after night, was the responsibility of 3 men.
The guys that are out in the field end up being the frontline troops, but it's like an army. You know, there's a whole bunch of people behind the frontline troops, otherwise the frontline troops can't keep going ahead.
In the case of Black Sabbath, you got Mike and his crew out there. These are some of the best in the world.
My name is Mike Kennard. I'm a pyrotechnician, and I'm on tour with Black Sabbath right now.
Mike Kennard is in charge of the whole crew and is the primary licensed pyrotechnician on that show. He has licenses in many, many states, travels with the show, and is responsible for the setup, operation, and firing of all of the pyrotechnic devices.
During the design stages, Kennard worked with Pyro Pete.
Well, we went over some of the drawings and some of the ideas that he wanted to do, and basically we went down a list of drawings and kind of placed stuff around the stage where he wanted it, and then I took that and applied it to the computer so that it would fire the way he wanted to see it.
For the Black Sabbath concert, Pyro Pete designed 3 intricate pyro effects, or cues.
The first cue is a big flash hit across the whole of the stage. The second cue, what we're trying to simulate is like an outdoor aerial fireworks show. It's a pellet that burns itself out on the way up, and after it goes up and burns out, a concussion and an airburst will go. The third cue is just a basic waterfall.
So these are waterfalls that hang off the back truss, and these are probably the most difficult piece of pyro on the show because Bill's right here and he's pretty captive.
It's just a shower of sparks that comes straight down.
This waterfall cartridge would go for 10 seconds, 15 feet, smokeless.
By the time it hits the stage, it's basically there's such a thing, a cold spark, you know, so it won't burn anyone.
I mean, he's come out of his little pit every once in a while, a little early, and dodged and everything, but it's all good.
The other types of effects we're using here, confetti, streamers, and things like that, are just, you know, your basic effects that go with however you want to apply them.
Thane Morris's company, MPA, ships the pyrotechnic products to each venue on the concert tour schedule.
You pick up one box, you carry it out there, that's enough material to do that show. It's sorted, it's ready to go. It makes it easier, it makes it safer, it makes it more reliable.
The next step is to rig the pyrotechnic effects onto the stage.
Well, my main job is to load the show for the most part, get this stuff wired up before the trusses are built, the lighting trusses, which these attach to. This setup is probably a solid 8 hours by the time you get the cabling done and things like that.
Ready to go.
Each individual pyro effect is wired into a digital computer firing system known as a field controller.
This is where I control the pyro from and actually shoot it.
Which is actually a computer in a box that will fire within 30 seconds.
What the controller allows you to do is to talk to each of these circuits individually, and you can select a circuit to fire, or it can run in a program mode where it's running down the list of circuits to fire.
It's like a big spider with a bunch of legs. All my legs go out to different devices, and I'm not on one line for the whole show.
You have to have computer programming skills to run the Pyro digital system, because it's a computer fire board, and he's very, very good at that.
People come to me all the time and say, I want to be a pyrotechnician. What should I learn? I say electronics. They say, why? I said, well, because you buy the product. You won't make the product. You'll buy it, and you need to know how to set it off.
So basically, when I pull that trigger, it's reading its data table, and it's just putting out voltage to each circuit that is reading off its memory chip.
The circuit wiring, the electrical wiring necessary to fire this stuff is much more complicated than the pyrotechnics.
0 through A, or air burst, and the equal sign lets me know that there's continuity to each one of those circuits.
Every time he pulls the trigger, you know, he risks everything. He has to know what he's doing.
You can make or break the stage by a millisecond on the switch on pyrotechnics.
Jeff Dog Pyre is responsible for the ambient special effects.
My primary concerns here are the fire effects, the smoke, and then I fall back and deal with the helping the pyro guys, the Mike and Clay, finishing up their part of the job.
There's power right here, Dog.
There's two different types of flame on this show. We've got the small torches, which is a pretty simple system. There's 8 of those on the stage. The bigger flames, the cauldrons, are a proper fire eye type Honeywell flame safety unit controlled system.
Hidden underneath the stage, 2 large 5-gallon tanks of propane house the fuel for the cauldrons.
When I do a leak check, make sure that we've got no leaking propane under the stage, because propane's heavier than air. It likes to puddle in places you don't really like it to be. Next thing you know, somebody's lighting a cigarette and boom. I arm the system, which basically gives me a 6,000 volt spark up in the tub of the cauldron. Once I get the spark, I get a green light on my box. Tells me that I do have spark positive ignition and I can vent propane.
All right, here we go. Fire in the hole! 3, 2, 1. Set that rope on fire now.
You got them both.
All right, that's all I wanted to see. That's it. Ready to go for show.
But it's not like a boom or a 30-foot wall of flame or anything like that. It's more of an ambiance kind of thing. Actually, my favorite part of the show.
Ready, everybody? And go, please.
In the middle of the Nevada desert, a neon oasis bears witness to the growth of pyrotechnics, from a fledgling underground craft to big business and mainstream acceptance. Pyrotechnics have become so prolific in Las Vegas that Pyro Pete Cappadocia now makes the city his home.
Wayne, it's Pyro Pete here. What's up, man?
He works for Thane Morris's MPA, which supplies pyrotechnics to the hotel shows.
So I'm technically the company rep, and I keep an eye on the show for them to make sure that they get their product when it's ordered, that they got the product that was ordered, and that the product is all performing to their specs.
Pete! I know that dude! Come on then, mate! I know this guy! You're Pyro Pete! How you doing, lad? I know him!
One of the most spectacular uses of pyrotechnics on the Las Vegas Strip is the Pirate Show at the Treasure Island Hotel.
The Buccaneer Bay Sea Battle opened October 26th of 1993 with the opening of the hotel. Since then, we've got just about 12,000 shows under our belt.
Pass this on you, His Royal Highness.
It has all of the same inherent dangers that a rock show would have. It has the large automated pieces of scenery moving around. It has pyrotechnics devices.
This dramatic combination of pyrotechnics and theatrics is made all the more challenging by the close proximity of audiences.
I laugh when I'm on the dock and I hear someone explaining to their son or daughter that, oh, well, that's fake fire. No, we don't use fake fire. It's the real thing. It's propane. And we go through gallons of liquid propane each performance.
To appreciate the skills behind close proximity pyrotechnics, one has to compare them to real explosions.
Okay, welcome to the mine effects demonstration and UXO disposal range.
These UN military engineers in Bosnia are going to detonate an actual anti-tank mine.
Okay, what he's doing is placing the mine right underneath the wheel, simulate the actual car driving over the mine.
The camera is 100 yards away and protected by a small bunker. The nearest person is over half a mile away.
Firing!
Now compare that with the size of an explosion on a stage with live performers only a few yards away. Two explosions of similar size and spectacle. But one would kill or maim anyone within a 100-foot radius.
So most definitely whoever was in the car is now gone.
While the other explosion has to be safe enough to set off within a few feet of a person, this illusion of explosive power in pyrotechnics is created by layering several different devices. For example, the effect of a person or object being thrown by an explosion is achieved by combining at least two different effects. The actual force that throws the person or object is supplied by air pressure, while low explosive or propane gas provides the flame and flash that appears as the cause of the explosive power. But even with the careful use of low explosives, the demand for bigger spectacles exerts pressure on the industry.
And it's getting bigger and closer to the audience. It's getting scarier.
So you have to adhere to the rules and regulations for pyrotechnics in a proximate audience.
The entertainment industry is so competitive that cameras are not allowed to shoot inside the control room of the Buccaneer Bay show. But it is run by a digital firing system similar to the one used on the Black Sabbath tour.
The show runs on what we call a show control system. We've got a computer that controls the pyrotechnics, the lights and the sound, the movement of the ship. So it's a very safe show. Everybody that does pyrotechnics knows somebody who died doing pyrotechnics.
Anybody that works in the industry gets burned. And the smart ones learn from the mistakes.
I had a concussion motor go off when I was loading it. It sounded like an explosion in a tunnel. And a white light hit me and blew me back. A lot of the stuff burns upwards of 1,200 degrees. 1,500 degrees, that's hot. You cook at 400 degrees. And I burnt my hair and burnt my eyebrows. So I was actually in the hospital for 3 days with the bandages over my eyes, not knowing if I was going to see again. And it wasn't even a large device I was working on. It was a small device. It was just that I was that close to it. I came back, 90%, and, except I have this really great story to tell about it now. But it's, at the time, it just puts the fear into you.
Close proximity pyrotechnics grew out of the rock and roll tours in the 70s and 80s. In its infancy, pyrotechnic products were often homemade.
And it was difficult, it was dangerous, and it wasn't repeatable.
I used to have to make little saran wrap packages with a little flash and a sparkle comp in there.
One little extra shake into the pot and made an entirely different device.
So there was a big gray area for a long time, but now it's just all business.
Now you take a device that has been measured with a set of scales and place it on in a holder on the stage.
I could just order a pre-made tube device, and away it goes.
Knowing full and well that there's a chance, nearly 100% chance it'll do exactly the same thing it did yesterday or 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago.
Even as pyrotechnic products attain an almost perfect level of safety in manufacturing, there are still many components of a show that can go wrong during a performance that involves pyrotechnics.
The pyrotechnician himself, being not only trained but having a lot of experience, is the key to everything. They are our safety valve. They know when to shoot, when not to shoot.
During a Black Sabbath concert, Mike Kennard is in constant communication with his crew on stage.
Once they see me up on the stage and Mike in his shooting position, they know things are going to happen. We can usually give them a high sign, hey, move up.
The Black Sabbath band members also rely on visual marks on the stage and lighting cues to warn them of upcoming effects.
And we got a little strobe for the drum tech, so he knows pyro's coming. We got strobes in the back, to let anybody walk around, hey, pyro's fixing to happen.
A concert stage loaded with pyrotechnic effects can be as deadly as a minefield in a war zone, laying in wait for an unsuspecting fan.
In a rock show, you worry about a kid getting up on stage and running across stage. Woohoo, I'm standing next to Ozzy.
They're not out there to hurt anybody, they just want to, be famous for that, 30 seconds or whatever. They don't know what we've got going on stage, so when they jump up and, come on stage, it's like, you've got to get to them or they can get hurt.
And you're standing right on a flash pot. Get the hell out of the way.
As the entertainment industry demands ever greater spectacle, the pyrotechnicians are caught in a tug of war. Create spectacular fireworks that are somehow safe enough to set off close to people.
Also, we have to put ourselves where stunt guys or stage performers or pop stars are going to stand and then do it first. And if we're not willing to do that, then it's probably a good indication that we shouldn't make them do it.
Creating the illusion of danger is only one small step away from the reality of danger.
I don't want this to turn to a how to make pyro sort of a bomb school thing, where some kid will be watching it and say, oh man, I know what I'm doing now. I'm going to go try this.
The good pyrotechnicians are not really, oh boy, let's go build a bomb types. The good pyrotechnicians it is sort of like a lighting guy. Let's make a effect to help the show.
Perhaps it's this delicate balance between safety and spectacle that attracts a unique group of professionals.
There's misconceptions about pyro people too, which is that we're kind of basement bomber, like to blow shit up kind of people,
The guys that want to just go out and blow things up are not the people that should get into the business. If they want to do that, they ought to go join the Army.
Well, I like the idea that it's a very small field, that there's not a lot of people doing it.
Just because they don't wear a suit and a tie and maybe they've got tattoos or they've got long hair or they dress strangely, what the general public thinks is strange, does not mean that these people aren't professional.
The fascinating characters who populate the world of pyrotechnics use science and technology to harness powerful forces in their quest to create art. This small group of modern-day wizards are direct descendants of the first pyrotechnicians from 9th century China. Though separated by 1100 years, their objectives are exactly the same. elicit the collective oohs and ahs of a spellbound audience.
To the general public out there, fireworks is magic. We're the makers of the magic.
Finally, the work of some of the most creative pyrotechnic designers, manufacturers, and frontline technicians in the world condensed into a 30-second retina-searing display.
Coming up next, shot down over Bosnia. Find out how he survived on Behind Enemy Lines, the Scott O'Grady story. Are you looking for the latest in science and technology headlines? If so, head to News Briefs anytime at Discovery.com.